Knowing your GD&T symbols? That's the easy part. Honestly, it's just a matter of memorization. But applying those symbols correctly on a real physical drawing, navigating the intricate rules of the ASME Y14.5 standard, yeah, that is exactly where even seasoned mechanical design engineers make mistakes. Welcome to this interactive explainer. I'm your host, and today we're going straight to the source, the ASME Y14.5-2018 standard, to seriously test your understanding of datums, maximum material condition, feature control frames, and position tolerances. Before I reveal each answer, I want you to pause and actually challenge yourself. Let's see what you've got.
Here is our agenda for this explainer. First, the GD&T application challenge. Next, round 1, datum precedence, followed by round 2, material conditions, and round 3, position tolerances. Then we look at real manufacturing failures, and finally, we score your GD&T knowledge. Let's dive in.
Section 1, the GD&T application challenge.
Section 2, round 1, datum precedence. All right, imagine you are a mechanical design engineer analyzing a complex machined aluminum part. You're verifying the feature control frames on the drawing to make sure the inspection department is going to set up the part correctly. Now, datums are everything here. So if a feature control frame references datums without any modifiers, what is the default condition for the datum feature references according to ASME rule number 2? Get ready for your options. Are we looking at A, maximum material boundary, B, least material boundary, C, regardless of material boundary, or D, regardless of feature size? Go ahead and pause this explainer right now. Think back to Section 5 of the standard and lock in your answer. And we're back. The correct answer is C, regardless of material boundary, or RMB. Now, if you selected D, well, you fell into a very common trap, which we're going to dissect in just a second. Let's look directly at ASME Y14.5, Section 5.9.1. This dictates rule number 2. It explicitly states that RMB is the default condition for datum feature references unless MMB or LMB is applied. What this means in physical terms, as defined in Section 3.51, is that a movable or variable true geometric counterpart progresses from its maximum material boundary toward its least material boundary until it makes maximum allowable contact with the extremities of the datum feature. Basically, it has to expand, contract, or progress to establish that datum. Now, this highlights a massive point of confusion. It's a really common engineer mistake. So many of us say RFS when we're looking at a datum reference, but according to Rule 2, RFS, regardless of feature size, is the default condition for the geometric tolerance values themselves. For the datum feature references in the back of the feature control frame, the correct term in default is RMB. Confusing a size tolerance concept with a datum reference concept is a very quick way to fail a drawing review. Section 3, Round 2, Material Conditions. Okay, put on your automotive product development hat for a minute. You're designing a cast transmission housing, and preserving minimum wall thickness is absolutely critical. When a positional tolerance is applied on a least material condition, or LMC basis, what happens when the produced feature departs from its LMC limit of size? Really think about the geometry of the hole and that tolerance zone. Here are your options. A, the tolerance zone strictly decreases. B, perfect form is required at MMC. C, the feature is rejected automatically, or D, an increase in positional tolerance is allowed. Take 5 seconds, pause the explainer, and choose your answer. Did you get it? The correct answer is D, an increase in positional tolerance is allowed. Listen, if you're designing for wall thickness, LMC is literally your best friend. This brilliantly illustrates the power of the LMC modifier. The standard, specifically in paragraph 10.3.5, states verbatim, where the feature's minimum material envelope departs from its LMC limit of size, an increase in positional tolerance is allowed, equal to the amount of the departure. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that perfect form is required at LMC, but there is no requirement for perfect form at MMC when toleranced this way. As the hole gets smaller, meaning it's departing from its maximum diameter, LMC, you actually gain extra positional tolerance or bonus tolerance, all while keeping that critical wall boundary perfectly safe. Section 4, Round 3, Position Tolerances. All right, here is a rigorous scenario testing one of the most intimidating tools in all of GD&T, composite positional tolerancing. Picture a composite feature control frame in your mind. If datum features are not specified in the lower segment, which is the Feature Relating Tolerance Zone Framework, or FRTZF, what is that FRTZF free to do relative to the upper segment, the Pattern Locating Tolerance Zone Framework, or PLTZF?
Look at your choices carefully. A. It is fully constrained to the primary datums. B. It is free to rotate and translate. C. It can only translate but not rotate. Or D. It must maintain perfect form at all times. One last time, hit pause on the explainer and make your selection. Welcome back. The correct answer is B. Without datums in that lower segment, the Feature Relating Tolerance Zone Framework is completely free to rotate and translate.
Let's pull directly from the text in ASME Section 10.5.1.1. It clearly states, when datum feature references are not specified in a lower segment of the Composite Feature Control Frame, the FRTZF is free to rotate and translate. See, the upper segment, the PLTZF, locates the pattern as a whole to your datums. But that lower segment, it only controls the feature-to-feature relationships, the spacing and orientation between the holes themselves. Because you didn't anchor it with datum letters in the bottom tier, that smaller tolerance zone pattern can just float and spin within the boundaries of the larger upper tier zones. Honestly, this concept has started more than a few heated arguments between engineering and manufacturing out on the shop floor.
Section 5. Real manufacturing failures.
Speaking of the shop floor, misunderstanding these rules means scrapped parts and lost money. Here's a classic engineering nightmare for you. A supplier manufactures a batch of mounting brackets. The quality team inspects the parts, and all the hole diameters measure perfectly acceptable within their size limits. But when it hits the assembly line, the mating pins simply do not fit. No way. Which GD&T concept was completely overlooked here?
The answer? Failing to account for the outer boundary, which is often functionally discussed right alongside virtual condition. According to Section 3.5, the outer boundary is the worst-case boundary generated by the collective effects of the largest feature of size and the applicable geometric tolerance. Look, if a hole is at its maximum material condition, meaning it's as small as it's legally allowed to be, and it's shifted all the way to the absolute edge of its positional tolerance zone, its effective clearance for a mating pin shrinks drastically. The supplier only checked the size of the hole, not the combined worst-case boundary of size plus location. Rookie mistake, but it happens all the time.
Section 6. Score your GD&T knowledge. So how did you do? Let's check out the assessment table. If you got 0 to 1 correct, hey, don't sweat it. But you definitely need to review your GD&T fundamentals, especially regarding material conditions and datum defaults. If you scored 2 to 3 correct, you possess a strong intermediate understanding of the ASME standard. You're actually applying the rules functionally, which is great. And if you nailed all 4 correct, huge congratulations. You have an exceptional grasp of Y14.5, and you are absolutely ready to lead advanced drawing interpretations.
But hey, don't get too comfortable. You might have survived the intermediate level, but the real world gets a whole lot more complex. Be sure to join us for our next explainer, where we're going to tackle expert-level advanced GD&T, diving deep into complex profile tolerances, datum shifts, and untangling real-world production drawings. Until then, ask yourself, are your technical drawings actually communicating exactly what you want, or just what you hope the machinist understands?